Good morning, everybody. Well, before I go on with this speech, I just need to, say a few things from my heart. Just to say thank you to Union Bank for bringing me to Lagos. Curious about Lagos and fiercely independent business people, and very suspicious of government, we decided that immediately after Federal Executive Council yesterday caught the last flight so that I don't miss and be misunderstood to have come late. Well, so we got in, and it took us like forever to get to the hotel. And I said, why is there so much traffic? So my PA showed me a post. It said, a lady asked, will you marry a madman? And the guy said, what do you mean? You can't marry anybody who lives in Lagos? So, because I used to assume that when they ask about madmen in Nigeria, they're only talking about politicians. But now I know we're all in the same shoes. So, I get into my hotel. It was almost 12 midnight, hurrying, and they told me I have to be here by 8. I said, these Lagos people probably, so before 6:30 I was already. So already this morning, I'm groggy already. I'm understanding why Lagos is like this. So thank you very much for being here, and thank you, Union Bank. But I'm going to give a speech that actually is attributable to the Vice President of the Federal Republic, because Union Bank has also invited the government of the Federal Republic and also invited the Ministry of Education. And because it would tantamount to too much government in one place, the Vice President figured that the minister should come, So once you have one, you can use it to shoot all of the beds, right? Okay. So I'm here and I'm shooting through all for everybody. Professor Osinbajo was already a professor at Unilag when I came there to do my master's degree. Because like the CEO has pointed out, many of us are Nigerian trained, started out in Lagos at Onward Nursery and Primary School, and moved to my village so that I would gain some Igbo language. I went to Boma Secondary School, and from there to Imo State University for my first degree, came to Victoria Island to do my law school, and then proceeded to Unilag for my master's, and headed to UniJust for my PhD. So I'm completely Nigerian. I understand this. So the country is giving us a lot. And like he said, I'm going to share everything I know and how we can help rebuild Nigeria. I don't think Union Bank is doing Nigeria any favors. It is actually making a huge investment. This is an investment that will yield returns for Union Bank. Because once you grow these Nigerians and they're educated, that means you have the right workforce to keep growing Union Bank. These guys are very smart people. So thank you, Union Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, the keynote address at the 2019 edition of the Edu 360 Union Bank's Education Fair, the CEO, Mr. Emeka, Mrs. Aisha of the Central Bank, partners and delegates, gentlemen of the press, I bring you greetings and warmest regards from the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That will include General President Muhammad Buhari, Vice President Professor Osinbajo, the Minister of Education Adamu, and myself, and the rest of us who are at government. We were pleased to have received the invitation to this year's edition of Edu 360. This is because this initiative is championed by one of Nigeria's indigenous heritage institutions and one of the leading financial institutions in Nigeria, the Union Bank. When a sector like education stimulates the interest of a bank, it means at least two things. It is a useful opportunity to engage and impact lives tangibly. Two, it is a viable platform to expand business prospects and orchestrate innovations. Allow me then to use this opportunity to congratulate your board and management and everybody at Union Bank for bringing all stakeholders together to discuss such important developments and trends in the sector. The theme, Education Beyond Words, is apt because it underscores the imperative of all governments around the world and our vision as a government to combat the current and future challenges in education. One of the mandates of this our administration at the federal level is to significantly reduce the number of out-of-school children in Nigeria by finding an empirical means of getting the actual figures and best ways to reduce the number to the barest minimum. Permit me to begin with a review of some of our strides in ensuring that Nigeria tackles the challenges in the education sector with a view to elevate its standard to a competitive level in order to ensure a better future for our children wherever they may find themselves across the world. Over the past 4 years, the Buhari administration has invested no less than 1.6 trillion in the education sector. We've made investments through UBEC, TED Fund, and the ministry and our agencies. Apart from primary education, a commission for secondary schools is also being established to oversee operations of secondary schools. This is in a bid to ensure global standards and that our children are learning. We also have ensured that all our unities colleges around the country, tuition fees have been halved from 83,000 to 49,000 across board, and also pegged PTA fees to no less more than 5,000 naira each. No doubt, the journey to revamping our education sector is a continuous one and demands conscientious and meticulous commitment from all parties. We are willing and ready to go along on this journey with the effort and contributions of strategic partners like Union Bank. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we would agree that these interventions seem like a far cry from what is required to completely overhaul our education system and meet our sustainable development goals, the SDG 4. The targets for inclusive and widespread development are enormous. So first, this administration is investing consistently in education in an unprecedented way, even more than the citizenry may be aware or the media may document. Funding is a fundamental pillar to rethinking and overhauling our education system in Nigeria. Our commitment as an administration to funding education will continue, and particular attention will be given to other factors that ensure continuous enrollment and affordable access to education that empowers. Our homegrown school feeding solution, warehoused in the Office of the Social Investment Project, has recorded impressive outcomes, from performance to numbers and learning outcomes, and it's an auspicious time for us as we approach the decade of action as declared by the United Nations, cutting down on the last 10 years before 2030 SDG deadline. So how can we then achieve education beyond words in Nigeria? Well, what I describe above is one branch of an ecosystem which makes up our education sector. In all developed models of education across the world, funding is not the sole responsibility of government. Rather, regulation and standard setting is our purview. But being that as our purview, that prerogative is also well as to ensuring, and not just that, but enabling the environment for every other person to come to play. The quality of education in any country is one of the major keys to its national development. Unfortunately, the decline in the quality and standard of education witnessed in Nigeria in the past decades has been curbed and will continuously be improved upon in the near future. Since 2000, the year 2000, there has been enormous progress in achieving the targets of the Universal Basic Education Commission, with a dramatic increase in literacy levels, achieving inclusive and quality education for all. This reaffirms the belief that education is one of the most powerful and proven vehicles for sustainable development. According to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals Index, enrollment in primary school education in developing countries has reached 91%. This also seeks to ensure that all girls and boys complete free primary and secondary schooling by 2030. For us, as a forward-thinking government, we remain committed to providing access to basic education for all children of school age, as well as ensuring quality education. Beyond the statistics, standards are more important to us. It is the role of government to provide an enabling environment for the development of education through sustainable investments and stakeholder-friendly policies. The best education models across the globe show diversified funding and investment options from all stakeholders, not just government. No impactful education system is solely funded by any government without the active participation of other stakeholder groups. Beyond funding, to attain an education system beyond the walls of classrooms, technology will be a major driver. The role of technology cannot be harnessed without other support institutions and sectoral stakeholders. As a government, we will continue to welcome technological innovations and harness initiatives such as the Empower program and for mainstreaming technology across primary and secondary schools in Nigeria. I must reiterate that technology inclusion for education will not be solely midwifed by the government, but by concerned stakeholders, investors, and other players who align and leverage government policies to fast-track development. Just like innovations or institutions like Union Bank is doing today, you have demonstrated leadership. We welcome other partners who may be here listening, and I'm hoping that other people will emulate you and join the ecosystem to enable us produce the manpower and resources needed to amplify impact and significantly increase our indices of our education outcomes. As you all know, human resource is also very critical to our achievements as a country in education. We cannot innovate or replace teachers completely without technology. Hence, as we invest in technology, we must invest in our teachers, school managers, and other workers in the education ecosystem. This is even more urgent in our public school system, where the auxiliary roles are challenged by limited funding. When the federal government presented an education reform plan tagged Education for Change, a ministerial strategic plan 2015 to 2019, to stakeholders and partners, it was strategic and geared at improving the quality of education through stakeholder collaboration. This document contains the key challenges and issues facing the Nigerian education system and the ministry's perspective on each of them. At that event, the Honorable Minister of Education, Malam Adamu Adamu, affirmed that the Buhari administration envisions a Nigerian education system that prepares its children for responsibilities of citizenship and national development, and that a radical change in education delivery was an imperative for the 21st century. This was again re-emphasized during the 2017 Nigerian Annual Education Conference, where the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, noted the need to invest in capacity building for teachers. Furthermore, in the 2016 to 2019 Ministerial Strategic Plan, teacher education involves impact building and professional development was one of the key items. So education beyond walls is education not limited by any factor or challenge. I do not understand walls to be just walls in a classroom, but a society where education regains its pride of place as a weapon primarily against poverty. A single, most powerful tool available to all citizens, irrespective of their gender, ethnic or political affiliation, religion or social status. Again, education beyond walls is one driven by technology. In most parts, yet supported by committed, well-trained experts who are passionate about molding lives. It is possible for us as a country to restore education by working assiduously to deliver our respective responsibilities to empower our children and indeed the future of our country, Nigeria. Finally, education beyond war speaks of a sector, an educational system where public and private actors are collaborators and not competitors in the delivery of qualitative and accessible education. This is most evident in what we are doing here today. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I must use this opportunity to invite you all as we begin the process of developing a follow-up plan to the one which lapses this year to play as much an active role as you can in working with the ministry to achieve the set goals within the next couple of years. We hope we can count on you all and represent that your interest is our interest. The outcomes of similar investments, if continued, will go a long way in supporting the government's effort to deliver an education system that serves the need of a nation like ours. With more support from partners and organizations like Union Bank, and on this note, people must realize that immediately I heard that the controller of the bankers committee had arrived, I double-led. Madam, did I not? That's the central bank. They are the bankers of the bankers. So all the things we are trying to do here, bankers committee, from enumeration, because I took 10 minutes to try to explain to the CEO of Union Bank what we think we can quickly deliver on. Because we can continue as many seminars and workshops as we may want. But if we don't take up 2, 3, 4 items and begin to deliver on them quickly, impact will never be made. So I had explained to him and he said I should hold on, that there is a big oga on the way. So as soon as she entered, I double-led on the floor. Madam, I double-led a second one. Finally, I thank Union Bank for inviting the ministry to part of this year's event as we continue to change the narrative about education and education beyond walls in Nigeria. On that note, I am pleased to declare this 2019 edition of the Edu 360 open. Professor Yemi Osinbajo.